Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Auction for the Soul. This week's Perashat Vayehi. It's unbelievable to think that we're coming to the end of Sefer Bereshit. Simchat Torah was literally, it feels like it was just yesterday, and here we are saying Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek. Hopefully we get a chance to review it again, but Sefer Bereshit, by far one of my favorite books. There's so much depth, so many layers. We should really be spending, a month on each one of the parshiot, weeks on each one of the parshiot. There's so much here to unpack. But as the Sefer begins to close, it begins with Vayechi Yaakov Eretz Mitzrayim. And Yaakov lived in Eretz Mitzrayim, Sheva Esrei Shana, V'yim Yimei Yaakov, Shnei Chayav, Sheva Shanim, Arba'im Et Shana. Yaakov lived in Egypt for 17 years. Yaakov's days were coming to an end. These are the years of his lifetime. He totaled 147 years. This is a reminiscent, very much so, of Sarah Imenu when it says V'chai Sarah, Sheva V'esrim V'mei Hashanim. It's written in a strange kind of way, and lots of commentary discussing why it's written that way. Yaakov Eretz Mitzrayim. Rashi points out that he points at this Parashat Stuma. It's actually interesting that when we had the Torah reader who came out to try to read the Torah for us, he couldn't find the parsha because he was looking for that gap. This parsha continues straight in from Vayigash to Vayechi. It's one long, non-interrupted, text. And the Rashi points out that the reason why this is Lama Parsha Zestuma. He asked the question, why is this Parsha Stuma? He says, "Afi shikiven shniftar Yaakov Avinu v'nistamu enehem v'libam shel Yisrael mitzarat hashibud." He says because when Yaakov passed away, the eyes and the hearts of the Jewish people came closed. And why? Because of all of the trouble and the suffering that they're going to have, that's going to go through in the land of Egypt. Another interpretation is why that Yaakov wanted to go ahead and reveal the ketz to the Jewish people and the end to the Jewish people, and he was unable to do so. Right? He wanted to tell his children how things are going to unfold in history, and it says over here, "V'nistamem mimenu," right? But this future that Yaakov perceived was closed off from him. He was unable to reveal that which would happen. But Bereshit Rabbah, this is all coming down from the Bereshit Rabbah. So he wanted to go ahead and reveal the future, and he's unable to do so. Now, we talk about vision, talk about seeing ahead. What's interesting about Judaism, we understand more than anyone else that nothing is predetermined. We reject determinism. I have a class in the morning. We're going through Rabbi Dessler's works, and right now we're talking about free will and determinism. And it's obvious as Jews we believe that we have free will, because if we don't believe in free will, then we really believe that there's no meaning to life. Everything is just pre-programmed. God knows everything, and therefore I don't need to try. But this is the antithesis of what it means to be a Jew. Now, later on, when Yaakov is getting closer to die, he says, "V'yikra Yaakov el banav." And by the way, so much of the parsha is about his perception. Yaakov looking ahead, asking Yosef not to bury me there, switching his hands on Ephraim and Manasseh, understanding, not just reacting to the flow of his time, but making choices about the future, how he wants things to unfold later. "V'yikra Yaakov el banav v'yomer hesifu v'yagid lechem et asher yikra etchem v'achrit hayamim." He says to them, "Why don't you come around me and I'll tell you what's going to happen at the end of time." Now, he doesn't say it. He just tells them a little bit about their personality, right? Hikvetzu v'shimu b'nei Yaakov v'shimu al Yisrael avichem. Assemble, come around, and listen to your father Israel. Remember, whenever it says Israel, not Yaakov, it's the higher spiritual version of Yaakov. It says, "Vayikra Yaakov el banav," right? Yaakov called out to his children. And then it says, "Hikvetzu v'shimu b'nei Yaakov." They assemble the sons of Yaakov. Vishimu el Yisrael avichem. Now he's no longer Yaakov, he's Yisrael. He's the higher part of him. And what does he tell him? He tells them not about the future, no stock picks over here, no great, awesome, insights into business, but rather, Reuven bechori ata kochi reshit oni yeter se'et v'yeter az. Right? You are Reuven, my firstborn. You might be the first of my fruit, the first of my strength, the first of my vigor. You're exceeding in your rank and exceeding in honor. But sounds very nice. Whenever you give criticism, parents, if you're listening, whenever you criticize a child, do it like Yaakov did it. First, talk about the kid's strengths. Always show them that you can see them in the most positive way possible. Then afterwards, do you want to go ahead and criticize? Only after the child understands that you see them for who they really are, the good parts of who they are. Then it says, Pachaz kamayim al totar Ki alita mishechvi avicha az hilalta yaotzi Allah. You're like unstable water, right? You can't excel. You won't grow much more like that because when you mounted your father's bed, you brought disgrace on my couch, And then he goes Shimon and Levi, Achim keli Hamas, right? Shimon and Levi, you're like weapons of tools of lawlessness. He's going on and he rips into each one of the kids, right? And he's telling them about their faults, telling them how if you leave things unchanged, your nature will define what you are. And he goes through all of them. Gad, Asher, Naphtali. You could go through the psukim themselves. They're fascinating. Why these were the things that Yaakov was doing now? It's because Yaakov understood something powerful. He had foresight. Yaakov's twin brother was Esav. Esav lacked foresight. Esav said, I'm going to live in a world which is defined by my vision. I only make choices based on the things I can see. So he's not thinking about tomorrow. He only cares about the now. He's worried about dying immediately. He has no thought about the future. Yaakov is obsessed with the future. He's obsessed with trying to use his vision to uncover what's going to happen later. And he recognizes he cannot go ahead and give the playbook, so to speak, to his children, because by doing so, he'll limit them, which is why God removes his ability to impart the future, right? So Yaakov wants to go ahead and give over the future, right? Gather around me so I can tell you what's going to happen. But it's interesting. The pasuk says, "Gather around me, so I can tell you what will happen in the days to come. Assemble and listen." Okay, it's literally a repetition, right? Right. What will happen to you in the days to come, right? But that's not what it says. It's just going to tell you. I'll tell you what happens in the days to come, right? It doesn't repeat that in the second sentence. It just says, "Come and listen." Rashi asks. He says, Yaakov wants to tell us the Ketz, but God takes it away from him. We saw that already. Okay, now. There's a very fundamental Jewish difference in how we think about predicting the future, right? We make the future by making choices. We believe that the script was not written. The ink has not dried. The future is radically open. There is infinite possibilities, right? This is the difference between Israel and every ancient culture, right? Every ancient culture, the Greeks, Esav believed in fate, determinism. Things can't change. What's written is written, and it can never be changed. The future is set, right? For the past, present, future is all happening. It all exists. It's done already. All you're doing is living out the story, that the script that has been written for you. We reject this. Okay, we completely reject this, and you see this so beautifully and pointedly written out when it comes to the Tanakh. We know the king Chizkiyahu became very ill, and he was literally on his deathbed. The Navi Yeshaya comes to him. Isaiah says to him, "You're going to die. Put your house in order. You're not going to live very much. You're going to die soon." Chizkiyahu turns to his face to the wall. He prays. He says, "God, please, I've walked before you so faithfully, wholeheartedly. I devoted myself to you. I did all these great things to you." He wept, right? Yeshaya left his house. Okay, the word of Hashem came to him and said, "Go back and tell Chizkiyahu, tell him to go ahead and give the Lord of the people. This is what Hashem wants, right? I heard your prayers and I've seen your tears and I will heal you." Now, the prophet came, Isaiah comes and tells Chizkiyahu, "You're going to die tomorrow," and he lives for another 15 years. How does that happen? He does teshuvah. He changes. We believe we can change. It's not set in stone. He changed his future. He changed his reality, right? We know the Gemara says in Barachot that if there's a sharp sword resting on your neck, right, don't stop praying. Even up to this point, I don't stop praying. There's infinite potential, infinite abilities. We do not allow ourselves to submit to fatalism. We're more than that. So this is the difference between a prophecy and a prediction. If a prediction comes true, right, it is a success. But if a prophecy comes true, it failed. The prophecy is usually there to tell you that you got to change, you got to do more, that the future is not set. You have the ability of breaking out. You can change. You can make a difference. This is the beauty of what it means to be a Jew. Yaakov is all about foresight. He's all about vision. Esav and Yaakov share one letter in their name. It's the letter Ayin. The month of Tevet, each Hebrew month, has a letter that is associated with the letter Ayin, how we perceive ourselves. It's interesting. Sometimes this is the end of the week for me, so I gave a whole bunch of classes, and all my classes somehow have one theme. And it wasn't on purpose, it's just an accident. That somehow, the cosmic stars have aligned in a way which has helped me express these ideas. How we perceive the world, how you and I see things, is how we experience things. Our heart colors our vision. Esav's heart created his vision to the point where on the day of Abraham's death, Abraham died in the month of Tevet, that's this month. He died on the 7th of Tevet, which was a couple of days ago. Today's the 9th of Tevet, which means that on the day that he decides to walk away from his Judaism is in this month. This is the coldest, darkest month of the year, where we don't have clear vision, where there is no sun shining. It's about being inside of ourselves a little bit, how we perceive ourselves. How does this parasha end? It ends with Yaakov thinking about his future, not giving up hope on his children, helping them recognize their failures, their weaknesses, to only inspire them to say, you can become more than these things. Don't be limited by the things that are holding you back. The things that are holding you back can become superpowers. But how do you see yourself? I was at a dinner this past Sunday for my son's school, and Rabbi Vayechi told a story, which I'm sure you've heard before, about how his son started this new school, and he was going to the first PTA, and the rabbi is about to tell a story about, as the rabbi comes in, Rabbi Vayechi comes in, and the teacher tells him, listen, your son's passing notes in school. And his mind is racing. Oh boy, here we go. The teacher's going to tell me how my son is a new kid in the school. He's disturbing. He's not complying, and so on and so forth. And the rabbi continues and says, "No, you don't understand." He's like, "I'm so happy to see that your son is passing a note in class, because it means he has friends." That teacher colored the way that student saw himself. I'm not seeing you as being a disturbance in class. I'm seeing you as someone who needs to be social and figure out how to do it. I'm so proud of you. How we perceive the things around us is how we experience those things. You could easily have had a teacher who saw that kid as being a disruptive force in the class, and instead, that would become that kid's reality. How we see things in other people is how those things are set, which is why Yitzchak did not give up on Esav, which is why Yaakov said, I want to be more than how I perceive of myself. He became the expression of balance. There's a famous inscription that was written a few thousand years ago. It's the proof that the Jewish people existed in ancient Egypt. It's the Marnepthe Stele, right? And it's written about almost 3,000 years ago by Ramses II. And it says in it, Israel is laid to waste, her seed is no more, right? The Jewish people have been told thousands of times throughout history that we're going to be wiped out. Hamas just tried doing it also. All the Arabs tried, we're going to wipe out Israel. Here we are, still telling the story, right? Lots of obituaries were written about the Jewish people, but there's one thing that we understand more than anyone else, okay? When we look up and we look into the stars, we see billions, hundreds of billions of galaxies. We see hundreds of billions of stars. We look down and we look into ourselves. We see that we're containing hundreds and trillions of cells. With a double copy, there's a 3.1 billion long human genome that tells us about our souls. There's a library. If that was a book, that's 5,000 books. It's a library of information. But there is one thing that we will never know. We're never going to know what tomorrow will bring, right? The past, I can't control that. The future, unknown. But this is why predictions always fail. I have the power of making a choice today that can change everything tomorrow. At the end of Yaakov's life, you think he's hopeless. Things are set. I'm dying, it's over. But on his deathbed, he inspires us at the end of this Perashat Vayehi. It's been such a long year and months since October 7th. Never give up hope. Yaakov is the one of the Avot that helped us start the Tefillah of Arbit. He started Mariv, as they say, the evening prayer. The evening prayer in the Shema, you'll notice, after the Shema, we say, we don't say the Emet, right? We say the Emunah Kozot, right? We say that all this is faith. He represents the dawn, the darkness before the light. He represents the situation where we lack clarity, but holding on to whatever it is that he has so that he can experience the light. Never give up, never give in. The future is not set. There's infinite possibilities for tomorrow. This is where our enemies mess up. They think they figured it all out. They forget we never give up. We always have a vision for a better, brighter future. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom Mevorach.